Showtime.
It's about that time.
Let's go.
You're right where you need to be. This is GCOM Radio.
Hardest radio station on the planet. Yeah.
Powered by Lyfeblood.com.
We certified.
And hosted by Nova Phoenix.
Give them that flavor.
Okay, what is going on? What is the deal, everyone? This is Nova Phoenix, your host on GCOM Radio on, say it with me, iHeartRadio, and we have come to another week, and with the 82nd show. I hope your week has been lovely. Mine has been okay. It's been okay. Just, running to, doing what I got to do on the daily and making sure things keeps operating, keeps flowing, and living life, especially with everything that's going on right now. Yeah, man. How has your week been? Hopefully productive. Hopefully discovering new things about yourself, and that you're pushing on, even though they're kind of like forcing everybody to work. I'm hoping that people took this time out for the time that they did have, that they're figuring out what they want to do with their life. And even now, we're for a lot of people that have gone back to work, hopefully you have made the decision to move off in a new direction for your life, and that these things will materialize in the coming months, in the coming years. So every small decision is one decision, one step closer to you achieving your dreams. Yes, and I stand by that wholeheartedly. All right, so what has been going on for the week? So yeah, Meg the Stallion. Let's get this going. Oh man, Meg the Stallion. Meg the Stallion got on social media. Everybody has heard about it right about now. And I'm the late one talking to you guys about it. Because you know how fast this news flows. Meg the Stallion came out on social media saying that came forward that Torey Lanes shot her. Torey Lanes, T Lanes, the guy that sings and raps, the Canadian dude, the short 5-foot footer. This dude in the truck with her was the one that put bullets in her feet. And she was upset. She went on social media and she laid it down. She laid it down to everybody, saying that, she was trying to keep it quiet, trying to protect him. And that's weird, trying to protect this dude, all the while in the moment, because she knows how cops get down, even though he shot her. And I'm sure she was trying to protect the people, herself and the other people, if in case they got those corrupt cops. She said, especially with everything that's going on, she didn't want to get caught up in a situation where she ends up getting shot or anybody else getting shot. She didn't want to be responsible, so she was mad cool about it. But as she was keeping quiet, not really letting anything out, people started to twist up the story, saying that she was a liar, saying there was a variety of different things to try to question Meg the Stallion's motivations on why she was saying that she was lying, she was whatever. It was some craziness. And I'm like, why would anybody look? Let me say something. And I look, we have to realize that people that tweet, people that post, people that say things in social media, most of the time they're 12-year-olds or they are bots. All right, they're fake accounts that all they're there to do is to troll. So I need for people to stop believing in what anybody says online. You don't know any of these people. If you see their Twitter account and all they have is 5 people that they're following and they just set up a Twitter account, more than likely 95% it is a fake account. If it's otherwise, stop even putting any emotional investment in what people are saying to you, and you have no idea who they are. As I said, they could be 9 years old. Either they could be 9 years old or they can be some kind of bot that's trying to stir up trouble. So stop believing in social media people. But anyway, with Meg the Stallion, this fool Torey Lanes. So he ends up shooting her in the feet. And I'm like, what the hell is going on with this dude? One person, I forgot who, said it was like, yo, I hope this dude, how these artists be spaced out on these drugs and it's clouded his judgment. I think Mike Song General was talking about that. Shout out to Mike Song. And I'm like, it doesn't really matter to me, you know, if this dude was hooked up on drugs, he was hopped up on drugs, and it clouded his judgment, made him see pink elephants, and he thought he saw something on her feet. I don't give a damn, bro. I really don't care. This dude, this dude's Canadian. He worked his way up, had an opportunity to cross over into the United States of America to take part of this hip hop, to be a millionaire doing what he does. And for this fool to actually go out his way for whatever that was happening, decides to shoot Meg the Stallion in the feet. What kind of backwards, dumb shit is that? Yo, man, deport this dude back to Canada, yo. Send that motherfucker back to Canada, man, up north, all right? Wherever town he come from, I don't know where he come from, Ontario, in that province. I don't even know. Send that motherfucker back right to Canada. Let him think about and let him stew in what he just did. He don't deserve any of what he getting over here in the United States of America, man. Shout out to Meg, man. Hopefully she heals quick emotionally and physically. Sorry this had to happen to you. Yes, we got to watch who we have around in our inner circle, man. We got to watch, because we don't know if these people are vampires here to suck the energy and money out of us. Someone that's even insecure in themselves, and the only way they feel better is to control other people. Watch who you have in your circle. And send that motherfucker back to Canada, man. Straight up. Next thing. I'd like to correct what I said. Amaya Elena, that was on the show last week, she kind of opened up the show. And I said she's from Seattle, and she is not from Seattle. She is from Minneapolis. The lady is from Minneapolis, and you probably hear me slowing down right now because I'm like, yeah, it is my notes, because I wanted to make sure I shouted her out, and I forgot this. So, you know what? Look, sometimes I be busy, man. Sometimes I be busy, and I write notes, and then I move off to something else, and then even some things personal can happen, and I totally lose my track, my train of thought, or what I was working on before, and then all of a sudden when I'm back, and when I'm doing my thing, I think, oh shit, yeah, she's from Minneapolis, so I'm checking my IG and all stuff. So she's not from Seattle, she's from Minneapolis. Shout out to Maya Elena. I wanted to write her for her to write some new music. She's scared of sharing it. I don't understand. Like, she does great music, and from what I heard, and I even spoke to her on IG, and I'm like, she reminds me of Sarah McLachlan, and if she stays in that lane, she doesn't have to be like Sarah McLachlan, but she is in that same energy, and I think she would do really well. So shout out to Maya. What's the next thing? State of Michigan. The state of Michigan agrees to pay the Flint residents $600 million for exposing them to contaminated water. Finally, they get some sort of money, some justice in the form of some money, $600 million. But they did say in this article that they would vary the monies paid out based on the severity of the affliction from this contaminated water. And I want people in Flint to be real careful how this goes down, because the devil is in the details. We got to make sure that, I don't care if a kid has a minor exposure to lead in these contaminated waters, or he has serious, or she has serious brain damage. You expose the Flint residents to contaminated water. You were sloppy. You were unprofessional. It was criminal what you did. It was criminal. Everybody that was in charge of switching that water, the water over to Flint residents, they deserve jail time. But nobody is talking about that. Nobody is even mentioning it. This thing dragged out for so long. I don't care what these kids got. They should get paid out to the utmost. Cut them a fat check to these families, because these families will never be the same. And all this while people are saying, you know what? keeping in mind everything else is going on right now in the world, or what's the center of attention on major news outlets. But Flint, Michigan people still don't have clean water. So we don't even know what is the status of the water that's being given to Flint, Michigan residents. So, pay that money, man. Pay that money out. Pay it in full. $100,000, $200,000 per resident. I don't even know how that breaks up with $600 million. Do not be penny pinching with these Flint folks, okay? So I'm glad that they did get some kind of money. The next thing is Pharrell and Jay-Z released a dope song called Entrepreneur last Friday. I think it's dope. They supporting black business, the need for self-determination, and everybody that was in there, man, I'm hand clapping that they got in that video, because it's a beautiful thing that Pharrell and Jay-Z came out with a song, Entrepreneur, to support black business. In the midst of all the music that's coming out right now, all the ratchetness and all the, the hood business and the songs that are coming out, we have two prominent legends in the hip-hop music, in the art form, that actually made a song to support black business. And I saw Dior Shataggio being represented up in that joint, and I played a little part because I saw Dior Shataggio on YouTube, and I felt like dope if I can do anything to push that anime studio that's ran by a brother or two brothers, Arthel and Darnell Esom, that hey, even if I can play my part from my corner, that's what's up, because I thought it was really dope, the work that we're doing. But they're coming up, and I'm glad that I'm seeing them come up and doing artwork for artists, and them being showcased or given some shine on that song, Entrepreneur, man. Big ups to them. One show that you guys gotta watch, man. I'm always a big fan of this woman in Hollywood. And I really haven't. A lot of people praise her first show. That's how she got her attention in the UK with this show called Chewing Gum. I haven't seen an episode yet of Chewing Gum, but people said it was hot. I haven't seen it, but I have seen some other stuff from Akilah Coelho. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that her name right. But she has a new HBO Max show called I May Destroy You. Man, that is talented. The whole crew is talented. All the actors, they're talented. Actresses, talented up the wazoo. Akilah's doing her thing with that show. I heard that she walked away from Netflix. I think I spoke about it on the show before, because she wanted to own the rights of her project instead of whatever deal they were trying to give her on Netflix. And she walked away from Netflix and got to deal with HBO Max, and that was dope. This show is about Akilah Coelho being a public figure as a writer, and she put out a book, and also she does social media, and she's a serious public figure in this show in the UK, and the whole show talks about rape, friendship, and drugs, and sex, and all this stuff, and all these things, this real provocative material that she made a part of her show, and her character going through this, and all the strain of all these things coming into play, and how it plays on her human psyche, her character. I think it was dope. The way Akilah was carrying herself with that material, man, I'm telling you, that was masterpiece work, man. Big ups to Akilah. When that first episode really took me left, because I didn't know what to expect, and then episode after episode was taking me there, like, man, challenging me as a viewer, all the subject matter she was talking about, man. Big ups to her, man. I'm looking forward to the second season. If you haven't seen that HBO Max show, I May Destroy You, please check it out, man. It'll touch you in a lot of different ways, and it's the topic of conversation at plenty of dinner tables. You know what I mean? So big ups to Akilah, man. Shout out to her. BlackBerry is still making phones, man. I saw BlackBerry was still. I can't believe BlackBerry is still making phones. So they have. How is BlackBerry still in business, man? I swear. But they chugging along, because for smartphones, BlackBerry is not at the top of the list as far as phones to get when you go to the store. BlackBerry is not on the top of the list, man. There's like 4 or 5 phones. I don't even know where they rank as BlackBerry, but they have the smartphone design, but they still holding on to those physical QWERTY buttons at the bottom of the phone. Because that's just, that's signature BlackBerry. And I don't even know I only know one person that has a BlackBerry, and that's my homegirl, Latasha. She's still rocking that BlackBerry. I'm like, really? Even back then, I'm sure she's still rocking the BlackBerry. I'm like, who got a BlackBerry now? Everybody don't. What? BlackBerry. Yo, man, give it up, BlackBerry. I don't know who's running that company. I thought they were going out of business, but when I saw it online, I think I was on verge.com and I saw that. I'm like, what? BlackBerry's still going around? Yo, that's crazy. Let me see. And last, IG, I just figured out, like, IG has this thing where they added a feature on it called the QR code. Everybody knows the QR code. Those funky designs print where you can scan with your own QR code scanner app on your phone. And they have this feature, I haven't used it yet, where you could trade your profile with other people quickly. So you set up your QR code and then people will scan it. And it's also for people if you small business looking to add local followers, things. I don't even know if people are actually talking about that. I guess that's cool, because I guess when you meet someone and you're talking with them, and people don't exchange numbers no more. It's crazy. People don't even exchange numbers. They be like, yo, what's your IG? Like numbers is like last. It's the funniest thing with technology and how we communicate. Before it was like, yo, what's your number? First it was like, we had to memorize numbers, and all of a sudden we didn't have to memorize numbers. Like, even if we lost our phone, we would be totally disconnected from civilization. We don't memorize numbers no more. So now, one step further, in the age of social media, you don't literally, they was like, yo, what's your IG? What's your Twitter? What's your Facebook? Like, we don't even bother to ask for numbers, because there's so many ways where you can contact people. We don't even bother. Like, I think the phone numbers is like third on the list. Like, first thing people would be like, yo, what's your IG? Boom, boom, boom. And we could always ask for the phone number through IG, through the DMs. But this QR code thing, would it be something to do? I don't know. Check it out, yo. Look at the Google it, where you can find your QR code and it pops up your IG profile, and I guess the person scans it and boom, it's in their joint, whatever the case may be. But hey, yeah, man, we'll see how that goes. So yeah, man, let's get into these the first 2 artists of the show. We're playing MJ Morgan. MJ Morgan with Is It Worth It? He is the family member to Morgan Heritage, the Grammy Award-winning reggae group that I played on the show before. So I'm playing all the Morgans, man. All the Morgans getting played on here. So it was like, I played Morgan Heritage, and it was Jameer Morgan. Now it's MJ Morgan. And I think the brother's coming out of ATL. I don't know if he still lives there, but he got a hot joint. So right after MJ Morgan, we're going to play Jade Lyric. Her song is Heartbroken. So MJ Morgan with Is It Worth It? And Jade Lyric with Heartbroken. Listen to these 2 artists and we'll be right back. All right.
Really, is it worth it? Nah, it ain't worth it. Is it worth it? Put it up on the fish scale, see really is it worth it? Steady sleeping on me, I'm like word nigga. Best believe you gon' see me later, nigga. Cause y'all niggas ain't working. Think my rap, boy, you think I'm jerking? Nah, man, if I used to dance, open the curtains. Really, I'm so certain it's paying off this work. Never, I'm hurting. I'm this nigga that they used to play like I was in Atari. Now I see straight through your lies like my name is Jabari. And I stay working so hard, but they be working hardly. They worry about Ferraris, and they money ain't that long. long. I'm telling you it's wrong. They've been singing that same old song. And I be like, what? Why you out here stuck? Niggas sound like they stuttering. Over like Willie. I'm working. What it do?
It's GCOM Radio
I am one of the flyers.
on iHeartRadio.
Nah, I ain't hurting. I'm just certain. Really, it's pertinent. If you talking money, then I'm getting to it. If you speaking truth, then I speak it fluent. Really, yeah, I know the code. I ain't looking for you to throw me a bone. That's cause I'm worth way more. If you giving some nigga 6 O's, telling me when never tell a lie. You keep my life and out to the sky. Scared money can't make money, I'll tell you about it. Just like bees cannot make honey without pollen. I got to lead, I don't know about you and your falling. Just put that crown on my head, let them know now. Taking pictures now, but I cannot pose. Really, I don't need these hoes. Cause really, I just need a wife who gon' hold me down to the dead night. In the kitchen cooking O's. Lingo they don't really know, but they said he's at the end, cause they don't want Scotty in. Truth is what I blow, they don't wanna hear it though. That's why I keep my circle close right here. Really is you working? Nah, I ain't jerking. What do you think? I'm lurking.
You heard it here first, folks. Where else can you hear the latest? You know the show. Say it.
There are times I get lonely when I'm here with you. Boy, you say you love me, but I don't get enough affection from you. Gotta know just how I'm feeling, but you play blind. Can't you see my back's against the wall? Every piece of love I gave it all. Am I fighting for this on my own? Cause I can't continue on my own. I know, just like you know, you should know when I'm hurting. Boy, I'm feeling hard. No, we ain't perfect. Pain ain't worth it. Now I'm feeling hard, bro. Now this time, no more talking, I'm taking action. You can watch me walk out the door. No more, can't take no more. Been some years, can't take no more. No more forgiving, it's time to move on. Gotta know just how I'm feeling, but you play blind. You see my back's against the wall. I gave it all. Am I fighting for this on my own? Cause I can't continue on my own. I know, just like you know, you should know when I'm hurting. Boy, I'm feeling heartbroken. No, we ain't perfect. Pain ain't still ain't worth it. I'm feeling hard. Never thought I would get the strength to leave you, though my heart is broken down in pieces. Thanks to you, I don't think I'm ever gonna love again. This pain has cut me so deep, cause now I know, just like you know me. When I'm hurting, I'm feeling hard, bro. Though we ain't perfect, bro. Now I'm feeling hard, bro.
Take control.
This is GCOM Radio, powered by Lyfeblood.com. Come join, be a lifer. Practice dollar power and build financial independence.
Yeah, that was MJ Morgan with Is It Worth It? And Jade Lyric with Heartbroken, man. Big up to MJ, man. My man's coming with the hip hop twist. So it's not like nothing like it's new. There's a lot of Jamaican hip hop artists that do their thing from the States. But it's just nice to hear something fresh, and I think that was dope. And also shout out to Jade Lyric, man, with Heartbroken, man. I'm feeling that song too. Yeah, hey, man, before we go off and we continue, it seems like Kellyanne Conway, just a little news that I forgot to mention earlier, she left the White House. Now, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Yeah, so they said that she was supposedly the news, like it was some sort of thing that was going on with her daughter being very vocal about Trump and the husband being uncomfortable or something or other, and she decided to leave the White House. Interesting. So now I see it as two things. It could be either two things. Number one, she could say, you know what? I'm not doing this for another 4 years. I did it. Whatever. I'm stepping down. I don't want to deal with this dude, Trump, right? If he gets another 4 years, right? Or two, she sees a sinking ship and she's like, this dude ain't got an iota of a chance to get back in another 4 years. I just might as well pack up and get out of Dodge. You know what I mean? So that's either two. Either he's gonna stay and she doesn't want to stick around this dude, or she don't think he got a chance in hell to win the second term. So who knows? But I just find that interesting that she's leaving. I don't know. As far as this Trump thing, I don't know, man. Can he do another 4 years? Who knows? It's possible, but I mean, I encourage people to vote. I encourage people to vote and do what they got to do, right? But also, I think there's also a conversation that's even had not just in the populace, but also the higher echelons in the halls of Congress. There's always a separate conversation going on, because you got to keep in mind the Electoral College. Yes, we have the popular vote and everybody votes and they pull the lever and they vote for what they want for. But you got to remember, and for those that are in politics, and you don't have to be super heavy in politics to understand this, but there's also the other process of the Electoral College, and it's people that has nothing to do with the popular vote. So it could mean also that there are people that are kind of tired of what's going on. It's rocking the boat too much, what Trump is doing. And regardless of the populace, the Electoral College will work. Will work in a way where it's going to lean towards Biden to Kamala anyway. Because it's just two separate processes, man. I can't see how, you know, it's like they always force you to talk about the vote, but then it's kind of like in the back the Electoral College gets to play, and they talk about it too when you're going through the presidential campaign. They're going through the districts, the precincts, whatever you want to call them, and they start counting up the electoral votes. And again, people, it is totally different from when you vote, because super delegates or whoever, they do not have to side with the president or the candidate of their choice. And it can remember, nobody remembers. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 2 million votes. Google it. If I'm wrong, prove me wrong. But she won the popular vote. She lost the Electoral College. She lost that. So anybody interested in finding out how that came to be, why that happened, I encourage people to do their own research. I will do it myself, and I'll talk about it on the show. And I think I talked about it on the show before, but I'll be willing to talk about it again. It's all good, but I encourage people to do their own research. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, but she still lost the presidency. Yeah, man. So we have two conversations going on over here. All right. So before we continue on with the show, we're going to get into business of the week, man. Business of the week. And you'll like this one. I think you'll thoroughly enjoy it. So we'll be right back to continue the segment. All right. All right, then. In a minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, for that
Bringing you the business of the week and its innovative founders. It's what you've been waiting for.
I'm a New Yorker. One thing we like concerning food is our pizza. It's fast, simple, and hits the spot in the middle of the late night hour in Manhattan or wherever you may be. Not many people can meet up to New York pizza. Well, by the looks of what I can see, I hope they can be competition to the Big Apple street cuisine. Slim and Husky's Pizza and Beeria, a pizza store with a hip-hop twist in North Nashville, Tennessee. Started by three friends on a mission to empower their community, one bite size at a time. It all started in a garage over a long-time joke over one being slim and the other two always being bigger than the average over the years. With a little light bulb going off, they decided to venture into the pizza business. They offer an assortment of pizzas, all cleverly named after songs and artists in hip-hop culture. The store also offers sweet, yummy cinnamon rolls and a fine selection of beer and wine. You can order online or through their app, and you can go to their website and see their other locations in Cali and ATL, Georgia. Lyfeblood.com would like to salute these three brothers for challenging New York to a pizza off right from their home of Tennessee. I look forward to tasting this cheesy delicacy over a nice cold beer. All right, so yeah, we're back. All right. So this little topic I'm talking about is relationships. Ain't it funny, man? I'm talking to all those young folks that's getting into their lovely relationships in college and in high school, and you hear about all those stories, and it's so cute. Oh my God. I remember when you were 17, 18, 19, and you meet that someone, and it's gonna be, oh my God, it's so lovely. Yeah, it's so lovely, right? But when you get older, and not to be so, blah, blah, blah about it, but it's just experience. You gain experience, you go through the breakups, you go through different relationships, and you realize, oh man, that first relationship, I didn't know what the hell I was thinking. So, but yeah, you do get older and you start, trying to figure stuff out. Now, like, why do people have issues the way that they do? And I said it before, 50% of America ends up in divorce, and I think that's a totally natural number. Everybody always uses it. Oh my God, something's wrong. 50% of people get divorced. I think that's totally natural because I think people don't understand the relationships they get into. And then a lot of the relationships that the married ones are frivolous and they're stupid, and they get married in Vegas and they end up, oh my God, why did I marry this person? And I've spoken with a number of different people, and they've married like 3 or 4 people. I'm like, yo, bruh, I mean, you didn't learn from the first one or the second. You gonna do the third? So, yeah, man, that's nuts. I don't get that. But I think not to get too deep into people's personal choices or the issues that they go through or whatever, but I think you could boil down a relationship to a few key things, and I think those are prime rules to being in a relationship. I'm talking to all you young folk out there that's 25, 23, 22. Yeah, I'm talking to all you young folk. Yeah, man. So I think the first thing is prime is listen, man. You always got to listen. You never want to talk over people. You never want to talk just for talking's sake. You want to really get into what someone is saying. And I know that's hard to say, easier said than done. But I think a big part of being in an equilibrium within your relationship, as much as that can be, is you got to be able to listen to certain people's feelings and understand what they're feeling or what they're going through, and be able to try to, empathize. A lot of times people don't listen. I think people just get into talking, and people wait for other people to finish so they can talk. And that's not the way to go, because then, the argument will get into you're not listening, and then you totally miss the point of whatever you're arguing about in the first place. So the first thing key, young man, young lady, is to listen. You got to be able to listen to each other. I think the second prime rule for being in a relationship is be willing to compromise and leave things behind. See, when you get together, it's kind of like a symbiotic relationship. You're both feeding off of each other. It's kind of like host and symbiote host, and you're working as a unit. So you got to be willing to compromise, and you got to be willing to leave things behind. Not everything, but because you're working as one unit, you got to be willing to compromise and say, I can't do that. I can no longer do that, because you're living as one unit. If you're living together, folks. But you don't even have to necessarily live together to compromise and leave things behind. All right, you could be living apart and still have to understand that she may not like something you do, you may not like something she does, or whatever, or this one particular. You got to be able to let go. You got to be able to let go, because now you're living, as I said before, as one unit. So be willing to compromise. Don't be hard asses, man. Don't be hard asses. And even if you have to put things in storage, and I'm not talking about physical storage, but also mental storage. Like, okay, you got to put that away. You got to put that in a little box. You got to close that lid. You got to put it under lock and key, and then tuck it away and put it in a little corner of your mind, because that's no longer at the forefront anymore. And I'm talking about whether it could be anything. If you're a type of person that say you play video games 8-10 hours a day, and I know those type of guys, I'm just keep it real. Sometimes you're gonna have to cut that down, or hanging out with your friends, or doing certain things to a certain degree. All right. Third primary thing you got to do is being independent and giving each other room. Now you're gonna be like, what are you saying? You just said compromise and let go of certain things, because you're living as one unit, as one whole. Right. Yeah, that's true. You're living as one unit. But I think it's also extremely important to have the independence. You're still an individual. You still have your likes. You still have your passions. You still have the things that make them uniquely you. So if you like making, I don't know, pottery or something like that, or whatever the case may be, like in Ghost, like with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore, you know what I'm talking about? I'm telling my age. Ghost, when he was doing the pottery. So if that's your thing, you got to be, if that's what makes your center or brings you to your center, you got to be willing to be independent in those things, and giving each other. Now, again, when it comes to hobbies and being independent, or as far as holding on to those friends, you're not going to totally cut off your friends, but you're going to go out with them every now and then. And, because that is you, that is a part of you. So you have to be independent, be the unit, but also there's a certain limit to it. There's a degree, there's lines that has to be drawn where you have to have your independence, and you have to give the other person room to breathe. Because even though you're together as a unit, you can't smother the individual. So you can't make your whole life about that person. And that's crazy. It may sound like, oh, but I'm in a relationship. No, I see it as two people walking the same path on the same journey. And yes, you are sharing each other's time, space, and all those other things. But in ways where you can keep your sanity, in ways where you don't lose yourself totally. And sometimes by giving up too much of yourself, you tend to neglect yourself, and then you can harbor some bad feelings towards the other person because you felt like you sacrificed all of you, those unique things that made you you. So it's important that you are independent and you give each other room, and then you guys can come back and, vibe. And plus it gives things to talk about. And maybe in that travel, in your independence or that journey, when you, wherever you're going in that moment, you can learn something about yourself that can add on to the relationship that you're in. Number 4, prime rule. Happiness is a state of mind. Happiness, you reaching your zen. Happiness is a state of mind. And, and it's this funny thing. Will Smith, I was, of course, always on IG. And Will Smith was talking about his relationship with Jada. And he said some key things, man. He says, your source of happiness can't be with me. Or Jada couldn't find her happiness with him. And this guy was going on, Will was going off on his, Will, just expounding on that particular subject. I was like, yo, that's dope. And I kind of like wrote to it. I'm like, damn, that's pretty cool. And the person wrote back to me and was like, what are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. What's he? So he was totally shut off from these gems at Will Smith. And I'm like, this dude is young. And I'm like, yeah, sure enough, that dude was young. He's like 30. And sometimes it's not even about age. Sometimes people don't see it. You know what I mean? But, it was key where he was like, yo, happiness, her happiness I can't be the source of her happiness. And I'm like, yo, that's deep. That's mad deep. That's mad true. Because when you're no longer there, then that happiness goes away. Or when you don't meet the criteria of that happiness that person expects from you, then all of a sudden that person loses that will to have to being content or balanced within themselves. And now they start seeking it in other places and probably trying to dig deeper into you and say, no, you're doing something wrong. You're doing this. And it's just this battle. I think your happiness has always been a part of you before you met that person. Your happiness is a state of mind where you're constantly seeking it and seeking that equilibrium within yourself. And then once you get into that union, into that relationship, that person can play a part in your happiness, but they can't be the sole source of it. And I think that's where the conflict comes in. I think that's where people get disturbed when there's a how should I say, there's a disturbance in the force, and people get upset and they're like, and then all of a sudden people are chasing something that's not really there. You know what I mean? So you always have to understand where your happiness lies within you, and that your partner, it can only add to the happiness in that moment. But you always must keep a thumb on the source of your happiness within you, and that should carry on into your life as you go about. You know what I mean? As you go about living this life. The fifth thing, prime, is pick your battles, man. You got to be able to pick your battles. Not everything's got to be this major, how should I put it? Not everything has to be like the ends of the earth. Like in The Hobbit, you got to battle Smaug the dragon. And you got to slay this dragon. Like you're on this ultimate mission to win. And I don't think that's not what it is, man. Sometimes you just gotta let things go. Even if sometimes you could be right, you're like, you know what? It ain't twerk it. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just gotta pick your battles and let things slide. And when it's some really hard body that you gotta get at, okay, that's when you gotta pull out your scepter and start waving and be like, no. But everything doesn't have to be a long, drag out battle, WWF fight to the death. You know what I mean? Because it's not healthy, man. Then it turns into a competition. It's not even about expressing your discontent or your issues with your significant other. It just turns into this battle royale. This who's gonna win, and it just gets silly. You know what I mean? And those tend to spill over into other arguments, because you're like, yo, well, you think you won that one. No, you thought you won that one. Here's how I'm gonna get you bang. You know what I mean? So that's another one. And another one is, and I think it's prime, man. Prime, deal with your past. Last but not least, I say again, deal with your past. A lot of people, they feel that, oh no, that was a past relationship, but that was a past. And sometimes it's not as simple as that, man. We're all human beings that carry baggage, and it's just not women, but it's also men. Our experiences that we lived through when we were younger, and even though if we came out bigger and stronger, and whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, you still got battle scars. You still are dealing with those things that gave you those scars today. And sometimes people reflex. They have a reflexive action when they feel that they're stepping into a familiar place that made them uncomfortable from the previous experience. So it's sometimes it's easier. Again, all these things are easier said than done, but you have to be willing to take the time out when you're by yourself, or when you're, talking with your friends, where you have some sort of self-reflection and you're like, damn, I should not be taking that experience and carrying it over into the now. You know what I mean? And you have to be very careful of that, because it could get really uneasy, and you could blur the line, and all of a sudden this person turns into the old person, like it's a one of those crazy nightmare movies. So you have to be really be willing to deal with your past, knowing that whatever happened was with that individual, was that experience, and you have to know how to discern the new issues or problems that you're dealing with your significant other today, as opposed to what you dealt with in your past. And I said it's easier said than done, but it comes with discipline, it comes with maturity, it comes with just taking your time. You know what I mean? Like, yo, hold on a second, and having self-reflection. Like, after you have that argument, whatever the case may be, you got to be willing to, just to chill out, watch TV, think about it for a second, and be like, damn, I was bugging. I shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? And you gotta have a certain degree of humility and be like, you know what, I was tripping. You know what I mean? So my thing, those are some prime rules in being in a relationship. Listen, be willing to compromise and leave things behind. Number 3, being independent and giving each other room, even though you're leaving certain things behind that were a part of you in some way or other. You never want to give up everything, and then all of a sudden that regret comes in. 4, happiness is a state of mind. Find your happiness, man. Find your happiness. It's not in the individuals, not in people. Don't put all your eggs in one basket in that one individual. Find your happiness for you. 5, pick your battles. Always pick your battles, man. Not everything's got to be a battle royale. And last but not least, deal with your past, man. Deal with your past. And if it's something that's like the more severe things, like the real problematic things, and you got to go see a shrink or whatever the case may be. But don't compound all your experiences in that one thing, and then you're in the moment of a new relationship, and all of a sudden you're mixing everything up. It's just confusing, and a lot of conflict can arise from that. So those are the prime rules. So hopefully you can go off in your younger years, in young man, young woman, in your 20s, and you try to figure out. And then the other thing is cool thing. And it was it's so old school, getting married at 17, 18. Nobody does that now, of course. But I know there's still some people that meet each other at 20, 19, and they be like, oh my God, I'm living with this person for the rest of my life. Whoa, slow down. You got your entire life. The human age has, or life expectancy, human life expectancy has been prolonged. We live into a ripe old age of 90, 95, 85, around there somewhere. So we don't have to rush off and try to, whisk ourselves away in these relationships so young. We have time. We got time. We get time to figure it out. Not saying not to live your life, but if you're going to get serious, take your time with it, man. There's a whole life ahead of you when you're 19, 20, 21, 24. And be willing to figure yourself out first before you jump into things, man. Figure yourself out, and your identity, your character. Because a lot of people get into relationships and they make their character the relationship, and they are still clueless about who they are, even at 24. So take your time, man. Enjoy life, enjoy people, and when you're ready, you'll know when you're ready, man. Yeah. So all right. So we're gonna get into these other songs. What we got here? Oh, so we got Akilah Divine. Her song is Tribe. That's a dope one. And we're going to come back with another Damon Clark. We played this song on the show before, Love Me Now. Very, very dope song, man. So check out Damon Clark. It's Akilah Divine with Tribe, and then we're going to follow up with Damon Clark and Love Me Now. All right, so we'll be right back. All right.
Don't you fall asleep now. You must stay woke. Don't you fall asleep now. You must stay woke.
Split the umbilical cord, got cut with the scissors. Mom and daddy only raised up winners. I came out of sprinting in a meter dash. You need me for that. I'm never looking back, cause these odds are stacked against me. They got modern day lynching, but y'all still won't pay attention. Too busy flexing on Instagram for those who don't give a damn. Say your soul to your Uncle Sam. Don't know who you are, so you can expand. Much larger than what we see. On our third eye block, so we don't believe. Tell you God is a mystery. Like he ain't man and more blacker than dirt. Like he didn't cultivate earth. Why I gotta be like that? Testing on us like lead rats. Then we get stuck in your track. Work a whole damn life to pay tax. Damn, why I gotta be like that? Testing on us like lead rats. Then we get stuck in your track. Work a whole damn life to pay tax. Don't you fall asleep now.
Listen up. Turn up.
You're listening to GCOM Radio.
Stay woke. Don't you fall asleep now. You must stay woke. Haven't you heard it's open season? They killing us and not giving reasons. Then granny left to clean up the bleed and left you alone in your broken home. 2 shots in the chest and 1 to the dome. That's how you kill 2 birds with a stone. Little do you know that the soul lives on. Bottles popped and balloons are flown. Who will right this wrong? Not the one with the badge on. Who gon' fix this hurt? Subside the stress. Got a lot built up and we won't confess. So we crave the weed, need the lick, fiend for drugs. Who forgets? Call the plug. I can't quit. They say love still exists. I can't tell. Give me some. Give me that vitamin D. Follow it up with plan B. Birth control. Rest that soul. Birth control. Rest that soul. Give me that vitamin D. Follow it up with plan B. Birth control. Rest that soul. Birth control. Rest that soul. But why I gotta be like that? Testing on us like lead rats. Then we get stuck in your track. Work a whole damn life to pay tax. Damn, why I gotta be like that? Testing on us like lead rats. Then we get stuck in your track. Work a whole damn life to pay tax.
Y'all check it out, y'all.
Here's a bonus. You heard it before.
Yeah.
Here we go again. Serving that heat.
Now turn it up.
GCOM Radio.
Like your mother, but you're way more messed up. You swore you'd never be cruel to me, but here we are. I know I'm codependent. I'm just like my mother, drawn to pain. I swore I'd never be a fool like her, but here we are. If I don't walk away, you won't ever set me free. No, I won't be sticking around while you drive me into the ground. I thought you loved me once, but you don't love me now. I've made you a bitter memory. You are like your father, but you're not as kind. I fought to see the promise in your soul, but here we are. I know my heart was a sacrifice. I'm just like my father, I'm used to pain. I swore I'd never be the same as him, but here we are. If I don't walk away, you won't ever set me free. No, I won't be sticking around while you drive me into the ground. I thought you loved me once, but you don't love me now. We were never meant to be. but you don't love me now.
All right, folks. Yeah, man. So you just heard Akilah Divine with her song Tribe, and Damon Clark or Love Me Now on a replay on the show. So yeah, man. I like to give, before we continue on, a special shout out and support to Jacob Blake. Jacob Blake was a black man in Kenosha, Wisconsin, that was shot 7 times in the back as he was going back to his car to check on his 3 sons. From what I hear, he was breaking up a fight between 2 people. The police later came and for some reason pulled him to the side after the altercation was dealt with, and I guess, you know, from the video, all you see is a video of him. It looks like he was getting up from behind his SUV, and he walked around the front, and as he was going to his car, the cop was pulling on his shirt, if I'm correct, and as he was getting in, this police officer let off 7 shots in his back. Unfortunately, he lost use of his legs. And it was going off in Wisconsin. It was going off, and the protest was going on. And you know, it's funny, to this day, after all the protests, after everything that's happening, after all the celebrities talking, after worldwide protesting, companies giving to Black Lives Matter, I mean, this whole thing in the last 8 weeks, you think that police departments across America would take a pause, even if they knew within their own departments of the racism. You think they would talk amongst each other to say, man, it's really hot right now. Let's just chill out for a second, you know, for 2 months, 3 months, to kind of make it seem that there was some kind of a change that was happening, even if it was to trick us. No, it keeps happening. It keeps happening even after all this that is happening. You still see videos coming out of brothers that's getting shot. And I tell you, many years ago, it was already known in the Black community that when police officers deal with white assailants, they always seem to bring them in unharmed. Always, consistently. And then people would probably set an argument saying, oh, you know, these are isolated cases. What may happen in Minneapolis may not happen in New York. What may happen in New York may not happen in Miami-Dade. Yada, yada, yada. These are 2 separate instances. You can't mix the 2. But after video after video after video after video comes out, you start to see a pattern. You cannot deny the fact that there's a pattern that white police officers deal with white assailants, even if they're doing so. I'm not even talking about it's an honest traffic stop, or a cop is curious and they need to see what's going on and they're investigating. Even when the criminal, capital C, when this white criminal is doing something illegal, or forget illegal, getting caught in the act, actually fighting against the cops, guess what happens at the end when they're apprehended? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. They get cuffed, they get taken to the precinct, they get read their rights, they have their day in court. What happens to just innocent Black men as opposed to white criminals? Innocent Black men get shot in the back. They got shot in the stomach while they're getting pinned down. They're getting choked from behind. They're getting shot in stores looking at weapons, air guns, innocently. They get shot running away from a cop, and then the cop comes by and throws down evidence to try to make it seem like he was doing something illegal. They get held down or pulled over for traffic stops, minor traffic stops. They go to the police precinct and they mysteriously end up dead. Cases upon cases upon cases upon cases upon cases of innocent Black people getting shot dead. and the cops saying, I feared for my life. Innocent black people. And then you have video upon video of just white criminals straight up going through a wrestling match with a cop. Video of cops being chased by white dudes. Vehicles getting commandeered. Dudes pulling out knives and swinging them all around the place. Dudes shooting at the cops. And somehow, miraculously, they get taken in alive, unharmed. Do you not see a pattern here? Do you not see a pattern here, America? There's an obvious problem that I don't think that can be cured with just training. It's not something that could be dealt with sensitivity training. It's not something that could be dealt with by talking to the cop or giving him desk duty or suspending him. We're dealing something with what we call as socialization. People have been socialized to look at black bodies differently. They see them bigger. They see them stronger. They see them meaner. They see them as criminals. They see them as guilty before proven innocent, that they must be shook down. They done something wrong. This is socialization. This is what they're learning in their schools, what they're learning at home, what they're learning on television, the movies they watch. Everything is compounded year after year as they come into young adulthood, into their adulthood of their 30s and 40s, where they have this preconceived notion of what a black person is, male or female. And with this thought process, they handle these individuals differently. Automatically, they are triggered. They are triggered. They are triggered to treat black bodies differently. And you can see it. Now, you're going to say to me, well, how do we deal with this? I mean, we have to make it in such a way with this legislation, other than defunding the police. Now, I wholeheartedly agree with it, understanding it. But now you have to put forth legislation that's going to make cops think about their life or their family's life more than they would think of the person in front of them or what can turn out in an altercation or a run-in. You have to take away something or give something in return. You have to take away something. And I want to get this brother's name right. And it's funny. I don't understand why. You know me. By the time you know how it is, you know how I feel about the whole Dick Gregory. Okay, Dick Gregory. And it was kind of inspired by a talk by Dick Gregory. You have to take away something. And the line, it sticks out to me what Dick Gregory said in an interview. I forgot the gentleman's name. He kind of did a couple of interviews with Dick Gregory. And Dick Gregory said, you have to put them in a situation where they would think to themselves, do they love their family more than they hate niggas? It's not about them having some kind of epiphany, not some type of realization after talking to them, or they come to their senses in a finger snap like, oh my God, I was wrong all this time. No, it can't be that. You have to put them in a position, do they love their family more than they hate niggers? And you have to let them think about that. And I put that a part of the American Economic Freedom Project. You have to give them something. And in turn, take it away. I love to, again, give a shout out to Jacob Blake's family. And it's so many names, just so many names. It's named upon names and upon names. And this is still fresh, so I may not remember his name right off the bat. In Kenosha, Wisconsin. I bet you this is going to be burned into my brain in the next day or so. To his family and friends, to everyone that's been affected by this, to everyone, I like to give my love and support, and I'll definitely make some calls myself, not just, praying on it. I'm also going to do something about it as far as what I can do from New York. And people are already protesting in Kenosha and in New York City, and letting the family, the Blake family, know that we support them. All right, so before we continue, I'm going to go into the news you need to know. All right, so I will be right back. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Around the world and right in your neighborhood, it's the news you need to know.
Computer beats human pilot in simulated jet duel. In a planned flight simulation called Alpha Dogfight Trials, AI has been set up to play against a human being in a dogfight to see who would win. Well, AI won. Manager of the event at DARPA, Colonel Dan Javorcik, stated that in early trials, AI would shoot themselves by accident, fly into the ground, or forget about its opponent. Now it has gotten tremendously better. Colonel Javorcik says, quote, "We watched the agents go from being able to barely fly the airplane and barely prevent themselves from crashing into true behaviors that look like dogfighting," unquote. Supported by a variety of teams such as Goliath from Lockheed Martin and Aurora Flight Sciences from Boeing, the trials have produced great results. The targeted applications range from self-piloted scouting and offensive missions to co-pilot assistance to human-operated flights. The only concern is AI being able to determine the limitations of the human body. G-forces would not be a problem for AI-controlled flights, but computers would have to calculate the physical stress limits of the onboard pilots. Banger, codenamed to the human test pilot in the trial, states, quote, "I think technology has proven over the past 20 years that it's able to think faster than a human and react faster in a precise, pristine environment," unquote. Terminator is here. United States Postal Service would not replace 600 removed mail sorting machines. After the controversial news of mailboxes and mail sorting machines being removed last week, it was decided that they would be replaced by words from the Postmaster General, Louis DeJoy. Senator Gary Peters asked during a hearing of the Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee, quote, will you be bringing back any mail sorting machines that have been removed?" DeJoy responds, quote, "There is no intention to do that. They are not needed." The United States Postal Service plans to remove 671 sorting machines that can process thousands of pieces of mail. 90% have already been removed. Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Texas, Michigan, North Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, and Wisconsin are all states affected by this theft. Removal of machines can be routine, but the Postal Agency removed 3%, 125 machines in 2018. In 2019, 5%, 186 machines have been removed. Postal workers in Washington state already started to reinstall the machines against United States Postal Service orders. And that is the news you need to know. Yeah, man. All right. So let's get into the last segment of the show. Okay, what are we talking about here? So I was reading this article. It was interesting. This article was by, it was called A Downfall. Let me see if I get this right. The Unraveling of America. And this anthropologist named Wade Davis wrote this dope article on it, man. That America is possibly, because of COVID, is seeing its slow decline. And the decline has been happening for a while. It's been happening for a while. Just COVID exposed it, as I said on the show before. And it makes me think, what are those things that they're the signs of this downfall? And I'm like, has America had its time? Will another nation take its place? Would it be Russia? Would it be Asia, in particular China? COVID has exposed so much, man. And America's lost its shine, man. The shine has lost its luster. It's fading. It's becoming dull. So what are those signs? And a couple of signs, I have to say. Individualism. Spoke about that. Everything. individualism. There's no cohesiveness as a society. And individualism has become the new way of living. That you're on your own, man. It sucks to be you. I don't know how you gonna make it. I don't know how my neighbor's gonna do it. What? I gotta give for this government program? How much I gotta give? My kids are not in school anymore. Why should I give? He makes less than me. He makes more than me. She should make less than me. She makes more than me? Why should I care about my neighbor? Why should I care about that person across the street? Oh yeah, that's happening to him? Individualism keeps America disjointed. And even when we're going through a mode of crisis, you still have people that believe that, hey man, that's over there and it's not over here. And I do what I want. Who cares? I don't care about what other people say. I do what I want. It's a free country. Individualism is what's killing this country. And I say it's a sign. Next thing is greed, unfettered greed. Hypercapitalism is destroying this country. And greed is a good sign of that. Where you have such a wealth gap between the working class and the 5%. Where you can have people that own companies and gain so much wealth in a single day that one fraction, if they were to shave it off and give it to the working class, this person or these individuals wouldn't even break a sweat. When I can have so much and not even think about the individual that has a mere shilling. More porridge, sir. More porridge, please. More porridge. That's what we're doing with a good section of America. All the while the man with the top hat is laughing and the coins are shaking. You can hear them shaking in his pocket, those gold coins. Who cares about you? Something that you did. It's your own personal flaw while you can't pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Now, let me tell you, I'm not saying that there aren't issues within poor communities. They are a product of their environment. And sometimes people lose hope, they give up, and then they depend on the system to provide for them. So in ways, there are a lot of things that make people dependent, that make people believe that the power is in other people. And I've always said the power is within you. And they're just bad behaviors that are taught. There are bad behaviors that get passed down to the children. And then children take on this bad behavior and the parents can't be there and the children go out wilding into young adulthood, into wherever. So usually when you see bad kids, you can pretty much link it to bad parenting. But that's the hood though. That's the bad part of the hood. Not everybody is bad in the hood. A lot of people work hard and they try to get their kids, give them opportunity. But a lot of it, we put it on ourselves. But nevertheless, greed is a sign of America's downfall. Because when you can see your arm rotting away and you can clearly fix the issue, but so what? I'm getting this money. That is a problem with America. The wealth divide is getting greater, not just in race, but also the working class. And it's unbelievable where the CEOs in the last 40, 50 years have got a 300% markup, while poor people, the working class people, they only inch their way into a little bit more pennies in their pocket. The gross chasm that separates the have and the have-nots. The vast separation between the have and the have-nots. The other thing it's a sign of America's downfall. It's a concentration of work, as I said. It played a part in the destruction of the family unit. When you have to work 60 or 80 hours and you can't really raise your kids. You can't really take care of yourself. Is a sign of the decline of America. Globalization is also a sign of the decline of America. Why do I say that? A lot of times it's like it's an inevitability where we will have globalization, because that's what business is, right? That's the free market. But the other way of looking at it is jobs that could have went to Americans here. It's all about finding cheap labor, goes over there. So even when you have a whole job market where it's dwindling and people are trying to figure out how they're going to get their next job, but then CEOs throws up their hands and say, well, I can't bring it back over here. And it's kind of true in certain ways. It's true because you're not going to sell a product at a decent price if you make it here, because it's just the economy. It's overinflated. So the expensive item that you would have gotten for $200 now double, triple in price. But it's a double-edged sword where now jobs are being outsourced and goes to other places, and all of a sudden you have to figure out where you're gonna make the next penny in order to keep your lights on. So there is an issue in one way of globalization being an issue of the decline of America. Now, I understand there's going to be markets. We're going to trade with other countries. That's all good. But at a certain point, you have to say to yourself, what is it worth the health of my country? What is it worth the health of my country where the people are living on Skid Row? And I can mark up sneakers for 400%. You got pants that's worth $500, $1,000. And you got people trying to figure out where they're going to get pants. You know what I mean? Where they're going to get the next meal. Globalization is an issue. And we have to be surgical about it. We have to figure it out. Another decline of America is the drug epidemic that is hitting white America. The opioid addiction. It is a sign of depression. It is a sign of escapism. It is a sign of the decline of America and people not willing to deal with it. So now people are seeking out other ways to try to not think about their problems. And that's an opioid addiction. And I bring that up because the Black America went through their addiction. We went through the crack era. And I think more or less, I think Black America understood how much it decimated Black communities. And how we can't go back to that. Yeah, not to say drug use is not going to be there. People still do, marijuana, all these things. But not to the point of where the crack epidemic took us in the 80s. Where it destroyed families. It was biochemical. It's chemical warfare. Of course, everybody understands how that came to be. Right? Freeway Rick Ross, the Contras. Right, and who was the journalist who broke that story? Let's see, I forgot his name, and it was a movie made by him. It was a journalist, cracking epidemic. Oh, Gary Webb. I even finished. Gary Webb. Look him up. WEBB. He broke the story that the rise of crack in Black neighborhoods was not just out of nowhere. It was indirectly from the federal government, that they more or less have admitted that it did take place. So now with the opioid addiction, people are trying to figure it out, and it's underemployment or unemployment or lack of skills, because we're in the new era of the digital era, of course, with automated technologies and artificial intelligence. Is a sign of the decline of America. And it's government greed and ineptitude. I can't go any farther than that. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Ineptitude. They do not know what they want to do. Or even if they do know what they want to do, they have to play like they want to do things in the best interest of the American people. But greed in government is what's the problem. And I've always said that is the main issue when it comes to having a government that works for the people. So it kind of ties into number 2 as far as greed, but more specifically in government. where everything has become a business. Everything can be made, it can be made logic of the free market. Everything can be commodified. Your water, your air, your shoes, your building, where you live. You need water to survive, but we can make money off of it. And now that has flowed into our government, into public office, where people are no longer looking out for the interests of their voters, of their constituency, but now how are they going to raise money for their next election? How are they going to get money to pay these exorbitant prices, where you can't be just a regular blue collar worker running for high office? You got to come from money. And of course, people that come from money are not going to spend their own. So they're going to make sure they get it from other places. So that means you got to make deals. Make deals with people with money, and it has nothing to do with poor people on the side. So their interests are not involved. Greed in government. All of these things playing off of each other is causing the slow decline of America. And you have other countries that are coming out like gangbusters. China. How can you compete with a country like China, where there are running cities with a population number of 20 million, 30 million, 50 million, 60 million? They're at the forefront of new technologies and innovation when it comes to their infrastructure. They are building their infrastructure in a fraction of the time that it would take here. They have figured it out in some way. And I'm not saying they're absolutely perfect, but they're doing things that are outpacing the United States of America. And they did not have to throw a single missile. They did not have to bomb 1 square inch of American property. And I can't see how China doesn't become the new superpower, neck and neck, and eventually to outpace it. So, the decline of America. Now, I say that it's a part of the name of this segment, but also, is it decline of America, or is it the opportunity to reinvent America? Reinvent America, because that's what people want. That's what people are protesting for. That's what people are making their voices heard, raising their fists. They want a new America, not the America that they've learned in their history books in class. They want the America, as far as the youth, that new energy that's coming into play. They want that America when they were talking about, in those history books, when they were talking about the morality and honesty and the American exceptionalism that they read in their history books. They want to see that. They're waiting for it. But yet it's not coming. And when that doesn't come, then what happens? That's when it will all end. Or be remade, depending on how you look at it. It is time for a new day. And we are seeing it every day. And they're trying to confuse it and mix up the messages and say, no, that's not what you want. You want this. But the American people know what they want. They know what they want. You can see it on their faces. You can hear it in the words on YouTube, on Twitter, on IG, on Facebook. You know what they're talking about. And even the racist people are coming around. They're starting to say, wait a second. We've been given a load of hooey. So even though they've been socialized, they hate people that don't look like them. At the same time, now they're kind of like, wait a second. Some of them, anyway. Some of them, not all. Because a lifetime of conditioning, you can't just, in a minute change it over, because all of a sudden your interests are starting to align with the people that is making the same money as you. I'm talking about the working class, the blue collar workers. So in some ways they're like, oh my God. But at the same time, they're hearing what's being said on the other side, and they're kind of like, wait a second. Oh shit, man, they're right. So I say that, how are we gonna do? How are we gonna deal with these signs? Individualism, greed, the wealth divide. the destruction of the family unit, globalization, the drug epidemic, the greed of government and its ineptitudes. That is an interesting thing. I welcome you to bring your questions and your comments because I have come to the end of the segment. Yeah, I'm done, folks. I just wanted to say that. So thank you for listening to me. Just go off on the show. Please go to Lyfeblood.com, sign up as a lifer if you want to empower yourself and your community through your passions. Sign up and become a part of that and share $1 a month with any member of your liking. It's about self-actualization. It's not about the money. It's about building community. It's about rebuilding. Everything that I mentioned before in the last segment is the direct opposite, and we're going to come up with solutions and not the problems. Become a lifer. So, all right, thank you to all the artists. Shout them out. Of course, I got to shout them out as always. MJ Morgan, Jade Lyric, Akilah Divine, and the replay of Damon Clark. Shout out to all of them. Thank you for submitting your music. I'm looking forward to hearing more. All right, folks, so I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next week. All right, I'm out.
Check it.
You just listened to GCOM Radio, powered by Lyfeblood.com for the global community.
We worldwide, baby.
See you in the next go round. From right here to your town, we out.